Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 2nd August 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 9 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. Title says Assam, Mizoram agree to ease border tension. So this article mainly talking about satellite information. Okay. So recently Center said that we are going to resolve this issue with using some satellite images. Okay. So this article, it is very important from our GS paper 2 point of view, and you can expect mains question from this topic. So this topic will be important from security also, which comes under GS paper 3. First, let us try to understand some important map details. So here we have Assam, and here this yellow color part, it is Mizoram. So now tension which is happening here. So what happened in this Lailapur, some people, they violated agreement between Assam and Mizoram. And people, okay, mainly in this Lailapur, they constructed some illegal huts, and these huts are demonstrated or destroyed by this Mizoram people, and now that led to increase in conflict. So now let us try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that with interstate border dispute between Assam and Mizoram, so that led to death of 6 people. Okay, so because of interstate border dispute between Assam and Mizoram, so that led to death of 6 people. So now center could be relying on satellite mapping to demarcate boundaries and to settle dispute between Assam and Mizoram. So because of increase in violence in this northeastern region, center now it is going to rely on satellite mapping, and it is going to demarcate boundaries and to settle disputes in this northeastern region. So if you're talking about some important details, this article mainly says that for more permanent solution to deal with interstate border issues, the Northeastern Space Application Center, which asked to map and to demarcate state boundaries using state satellite imagery. So if you're talking about which is the thing which mainly plays an important role in mapping here, that is Northeastern Space Application Center. So this Northeastern Space Application Center mainly asked to map and to demarcate state boundaries using satellite imaging. Okay, so here this point will be important for your prelims. And now let us try to see what is the context and why it is in news. So actually what happened, if you see background of this dispute, so old boundary dispute between Assam and Mizoram that exploded in violent clashes at a contested border point. So at border point between Assam and Mizoram, so there is some violence which created. So what led to violence? Okay, so there was long standing interstate boundary issues that is going on in northeast. Particularly we can see this boundary issues with Assam and other states which are mainly carved out of this Assam. So from Assam state, which are the states are carved out, so in those states there is normally boundary issue that is seen. So if you're talking about these two states like Assam and Mizoram, they share boundary or border with Bangladesh. So Mizoram borders Assam's Barak Valley. So what happened? So earlier there was one agreement which signed between government of Assam and government of Mizoram to come up with a status quo. Okay, so this status quo should be maintained in no man's land in border area, and it is according to agreement between government of Assam and government of Mizoram some years ago. So what happened recently? People from Lailapur, they broke a status quo. They constructed some temporary hut in this no man's land. Okay, that is boundary between this Assam and Mizoram. So people from Mizoram side, they went and they set on fire on these huts. So if you see here, that led to violence, and officials say that contested land belongs to Assam as per state record. So Assam people says that it will belongs to Assam land according to state records, and Mizoram civil society people blame illegal Bangladeshis. They alleged migrants on Assam side for these disturbances. So here Mizoram mainly says that so it is because of illegal Bangladeshis. So now let us go back to understand what is the origin of this dispute. So boundary between present day Assam and Mizoram, it is about 165 kilometer long. So Assam and Mizoram, they are sharing 165 kilometers long boundary. So Mizoram was known as Lushai Hills. It is a district of Assam earlier. And what happened in 1875 notification? So this dispute is because of this 1875 notification. So this 1875 notification which differentiated this Lushai Hills, that is Mizoram, from plains of Sachar. So this plains of Sachar which is located in Assam. So now let us go back to map again and let us try to understand where are these plains of Sachar is present. So here this blue color, light blue color part will be our Assam, right? So here we have this plains of Sachar, okay, plains of Sachar, and here this part is called as Lushai Hills. So here 1875 agreement which demarcated this Sachar and as well as this Lushai Hills. Okay, so this is the first important thing you need to remember. And now let us see next agreement. So first notification it is about it is in 1875 which mainly differentiated this Lushai Hills, that is Mizoram, from plains of Sachar. And next one is a 1993 notification which mainly demarcates boundary between Lushai Hills and Manipur, that is Mizoram and Manipur. Here Mizo Society says that they was not consulted prior to 1993 notification, and here this Mizoram claims their land which is based on 1875 notification. So here Mizoram says that we will follow 1875 notification which mainly come from Bengal East Frontier Regulation Act of 1873. And on other side Assam says that this land is theirs. Okay, they mainly says that we will follow 1993 notification but not 1875. So because of this there is some clash here. And second important thing here is boundary between Mizoram and Assam, which is mainly includes naturally occurring barriers of hills, valleys, rivers and forest. So because of this there is one imaginary line but there is no correct exact demarcation. So these are some important things that you need to remember regarding this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says GST revenues hit rupees 1.16 lakh crores in July. So if you see this bar diagram, then you can understand here. So if you are comparing with May 2020 and July 2021, there is drastically increase that we see. And if you are comparing with April and July, so between this April and July, that is between April, May, June. So in these 2 months, we are seeing there is a second wave, that is from March, March till May, we experienced second wave. So in March, not in May, not in March, but after this second wave that started, so in mid of this second wave, we imposed lockdown. Okay, so lockdown by number of states, and there is restriction of movement, and there is also partial restrictions, night curfews, etc. So because of this, in this months, there is decreasing of collections that is seen. Okay, and now there is somewhat increase in this GST collection than compared to that of last 2 months, that is evident here. So in this way, what will be inference? Inference here is we can expect there is economic recovery that is happening. So this is the thing that you need to understand. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy. Okay, GS paper 3 under economy. And this topic will be important from mains and also prelims. So in prelims, you can expect questions from this GST for sure in this year prelims, because actually this GST compensation is highly in use from last 1 year onwards. So you can expect a question from this GST for sure in this year prelims. So now let us try to see this topic in very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that the gross GST revenues in July recorded sharply rupees 1.16 crore, 1.16 lakh crore. There is increasing of GST collections. So here we got more than 1.16 lakh crore collection of GST. So why we need to focus here? Because as we know, this GST, it is indirect tax. So because of implementation of this GST in year 2017, so states, they need to surrender some important taxes to center. In return, center said that will ensure 14% of growth for states. But if there is any shortfall of this 14%, so center will give compensation to states. Okay, but this compensation will not be given lifelong, but only for certain period. And let me know that certain period till which year this compensation will be given by center to states. And next one is, mainly to provide this compensation to states, center came up with one more thing, that is GST Compensation Act. Okay, and whatever the thing compensation says, which is collected by center, and this will be distributed to states. And now let us try to see context. Context says that there is gross GST revenues in July recovered sharply to rupees 1.16 lakh crores after slipping below rupees 1 lakh crore mark for first time in 8 months. So what happened? So in 8 months, in May and as well as in June, there is decreasing of GST collections, and now we recovered that. So if you see details, it mainly says that Union government called collections as a sign of rapid economic recovery from the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. And if you're talking about reasons behind this increasing of GST collections here is easing out of COVID restrictions, and also GST collections crossed 1 lakh crore rupees. So because of easing of COVID-19 related restrictions, so there is increasing of GST collections. And next one is, it also indicates economy is recovering at a faster pace. Okay, and if you are talking about July collections, which is 33% higher than a year ago, and GST collected on imported goods also increased. And if you're focusing on state-wise data, so Odisha and Jharkhand, they reported 54% of upstick. Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, they increased about 36%. And in Maharashtra, it increased by 51%, and Kerala reported 27% of increase in GST collections, and Haryana it is 53%. And other states like UP, West Bengal, Rajasthan, they got a surge of 18, 15 and 12% respectively. So here I want to give you one homework. So you have to know what is this GST and what is this GST Compensation Act, and let me know in comment box. Don't forget about this. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says Sindhu bags bronze, scripts history. So this article mainly talking about Olympic medal. Okay. So this is the one more Olympic medal we got. So this article is important because this PV Sindhu, she scripts history. So because of this will be important. And if you are talking about the sport related news, that is not much important for UPSC. But if you are preparing for any public service examination, you can expect questions from this area. So now let us try to see this topic. Okay, what is important? So PV Sindhu, she got bronze at Tokyo Olympics in badminton. Okay, badminton singles. So badminton star became the first Indian woman to win 2 Olympics medal. So in last year in 2016 Olympics also she got silver medal, and now this year she got bronze. And now let us see next topic. Title says Bonalu celebrated in fervor at Lal Darwaza. So this article mainly talking about one local festival in state of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So this will be important, okay, from art and culture point of view. So now let us try to see this topic, okay. So this festival, it is a traditional folk festival celebrated every year in Telugu month of Ashadam. So in Telugu month of Ashadam, this traditional folk festival is celebrated, and it mainly celebrated in states of Telangana and as well as Andhra Pradesh. So in this festival, it involves devotees offering the traditional bonum. Bonum is nothing but they will take one earthen pot. So in that earthen pot, they will cook rice by using jaggery and so and so, and they will carry this pot to temples and they will offer for goddess Mahankali. Okay, so this is about this festival. And this Bonalu involves devotees offering traditional bonum to goddesses Mahankali. So the origin of this festival can be traced back to 18th century in erstwhile Hyderabad state. And other major festivals of Telangana states includes Batkama festival, Sammaka, Saraka, Jatara, etc. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And now let us focus on next topic. Title says UNSC Presidency. Jaishankar lays out policy perspective. So this article mainly focusing on policy perspectives of our External Affairs Minister. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 2, okay, under international relations, and this topic will be important from both prelims and mains. So from prelims you can get some basic questions regarding this United Nations Security Council, and from mains you can get analysis point of view from this topic. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. If you see context, it mainly says that India will always be a supporter of international law. So this is a statement which is given by our External Affairs Minister. So our External Affairs Minister laying out the policy perspective that Indian team at United Nations will pursue during Security Council perspective in August. Okay. So here if you see why it is in news, because recently India is scheduled to hold high level meetings and briefings as part of its month-long presidency. So now India is going to have this month-long presidency in this month of August at United Nations Security Council. So because of this, so what are the policy things which we are coming up? That will be important. And there are three important focus areas. First one is we are mainly focusing on maritime security. We are focusing on maritime security. So this maritime security, it is inevitable for maintenance of internal peace and as well as security. Because why maritime security? So if you see, Mumbai terror attacks mainly happened from sea route only. So because of this, we need to also ensure maritime security. So this maritime security will be very important for maintenance of internal peace and as well as security. And India also proposes international cooperation to tackle maritime crime and as well as security issues. And let me know what will be some kinds of maritime crime. First one we can say that is terrorism. Because people they can come through this sea route also. And the next one is in this maritime crimes we can see about piracy, pirates. And the next one is we can also see dumping of waste materials near coast of so and so countries. So this will be also some maritime crimes that can we see. So let me know more crimes in comment box. Don't forget about this. Okay, India proposes in international cooperation to tackle this maritime crime and security issues. And next one is counter-terrorism. So terrorism acts mainly poses immense threat to international peace and security. So in this context, we need to enhance coordination between United Nations and FATF, Financial Action Task Force. And we need to focus on enhanced attention on the linkages between terror, transnational crime, etc. And next important focused area here is peacekeeping. India is one of the top troop contributors of this United Nations missions. Okay, and here we are mainly focusing on a key priority. So this key priority would mainly ensure the safety of Indian peacekeeping personnel. And also we are mainly focusing on use of technology. Okay, and here India is expected to deploy mobile app that is Unite Aware. So you need to remember this mobile app whenever you are writing mains answer. This will be very useful. So this Unite app that will provide terrain information and also it will helpful to improve situational awareness for peacekeepers. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says clinical trials of Ashwagandha soon. So this plant, it is Ashwagandha. So actually clinical trials on this Ashwagandha, it is not new now. Even in 2020 when we came up with this coronavirus, at that time only clinical trials that had been tried, okay, research that had been started regarding this Ashwagandha. So this topic will be important regarding health, and this comes under GS paper 2, and this article will also comes under international relations. Why? Because so this mainly conducted with help of UK. So this will be also important from international relations point of view, which comes under GS paper 2. Already I showed you UK map number of times. So because of this I didn't attach it. So it is your duty to revise once again. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Ministry of Ayush collaborated with UK's London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine to conduct a study on Ashwagandha. So to conduct a study on Ashwagandha here, Indian ministry, that is Ministry of Ayush, collaborated with UK's London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. So this memorandum of understanding mainly to promote recovery from COVID-19. So how this ashwagandha, which is very much useful or not, whether it is having efficiency or not, we are going to identify in this clinical trials. So if you're talking about facts regarding this ashwagandha, so scientific name of this ashwagandha is Withenia somnifera. So Withenia somnifera, which is ashwagandha scientific name. So this also commonly known as Indian winter cherry. Indian winter cherry, it is a common name of this ashwagandha. So it is a traditional Indian herb which mainly boosts energy, which reduces stress and also make our immune system more stronger. So it also classified as adaptogen. So adaptogen means it mainly helps the body to manage stress. And ashwagandha also boosts brain function and also lowers blood sugar and also finally helps to fight symptoms of anxiety and as well as depression. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And now let us see next topic. Title says India, China establish hotline in North Sikkim. So here hotline means nothing but direct telephone conversion. Okay. So now let us try to talk about this article. First of all, let us see map. So this article mainly talking about this hotline was established between Indian Army at Kongrala. Okay, Kongrala Pass. So you have to see location of this pass. That will be very much important from your prelims point of view. So here in this part we are having this Kongrala Pass. Below this we are having Nakula Pass. And here we have this Kanchenjunga, which is located here. And next one is Kangla Pass. So Kongrala Pass in north and in the here we can see Kangla Pass. Don't confuse with this. And on right side we are having this Gorala Pass, Teenkar Pass and Chila Pass and Dokla Pass. So here you can expect a question from arrange these passes from north to south or south to north. So in this way you can expect question. Okay, so please follow this and please try to remember these passes. And not only in this Sikkim but in northeastern India we are having number of passes here. So you have to also refer that. And now let us see next map here. So here we can see other important passes like here Kongra Pass, Nakula Pass, Gorala Pass, Phimkaru Pass and as well as Thamkar Pass, Chola Pass, Nakula Pass, Jeepla Pass, okay, Batangla Pass. So these are some important passes that are present in Sikkim itself. And now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. First let us see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that a hotline was established between Indian Army and PLA, People's Republic Army of China. So between Indian Army and PLA Army, so there was hotline that was established. That is at Kongra La Pass, which is located in Tibet Autonomous Region. Okay, so this Kongra La Pass at Khamba Dzong, which is located at Autonomous Region of Tibet. So this hotline established mainly to increase spirit of trust and cordial relations along the border. And if you're talking about further more details, it mainly says that armed forces of two countries, they had well established mechanisms for communication at the ground commander level. Okay, so this article mainly says that armed forces of these two countries, they had well established mechanisms for communication at the ground commanders level. And this article also says that at the army side, these hotlines in various sectors, they went a long way here. So these hotlines are mainly focusing on enhancing, maintaining peace and tranquility on the borders. And if you're talking about what is this hotline, hotline means it is a direct telephone line in constant operational readiness, which mainly facilitates immediate communication, and it will be also very much helpful in timely communication and exchange of views between the two countries. So this is gist of this topic and I hope it is clear. Title says long overdue. So this article mainly talking about OBC and as well as economically weaker sections reservations in All India quota. So this All India quota regarding medical and as well as dental seats. Reservation medical and as well as dental seats. So this article will be important from our polity point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So regarding this, we already discussed about this Hindra Sahani case, right? So now let us try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So context mainly says that recently our Union Health Ministry has announced 27% of reservation for OBC and 10% of reservation for economically weaker sections of societies in All India Quota scheme for undergraduate and as well as postgraduate medical and dental courses, that is from year 2021 to 2022. So this is the context. So recently our Union Health Ministry announced 27% of reservation for OBCs, that is other backward classes, and 10% of quota for economically weaker sections in All India Quota scheme for undergraduates and as well as postgraduates who want to join in medical or dental courses from 2021 to 2022 onwards. So if you're talking about what is this All India Quota scheme, first of all, so this All India Quota scheme was introduced first in year 1986, okay, which is mainly introduced under directions of Supreme Court. So Supreme Court gave some directions to provide domicile free merit based opportunities to students from one state to aspire study in another state. So from one state to, if they all want to study in another states, so they here government need to provide some domicile free merit based opportunities. So if you see here, at that time it mainly comprised, that is All India Quota comprises about 50% of quota for 15% of quota of seats mainly for undergraduates and 50% of 50 for PG seats, 15 for UG, that is undergraduates, and 50 for PG seats. So this will be given for SCs, that is scheduled castes and as well as scheduled tribes. And if you are talking about reservation policy, until 2007 no reservation was implemented within this All India Quota for medical admissions. But in 2007, one famous case is Abhaynath versus University of Delhi and others. So in this case, Supreme Court directed that reservation should be given for SCs and STs. So 15% of reservation for SC category, that is scheduled caste, and 7.5% of reservation for the scheduled tribes. And later on, government passed Central Education Institution Reservation Administration Act of 2007, and also that led to reservation. So along with this reservation for SCs and STs, again government passed one more act, that is Central Education Institutions Reservation in Administration Act of 2007. So which mainly talks about providing of 27% of reservations for OBC students and 10% of reservations for economically weaker sections quota under Constitution. We came with this 103 Constitutional Amendment Act in 2019, and it mainly implemented in education institutions which are at central level. But now in NEET, this All India Quota also implemented for state institutions because of this recent announcement. So why this step is taken by government? So one is here, whenever we are going for denial of OBC and as well as economically weaker sections reservations, so that led to protest from since some years. And next one is, in July last year, the Madras High Court ruled that OBC students too can avail reservations in this All India Quota, and that will be come from next year, that is 2021 to 2022 courses onwards. So because of this announcement which is given by Union Ministry. So this is gist of this topic, and I hope it is clear. Now let us see next topic. Before seeing next topic, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial and also highly economical course, that is Current Affairs package along with the mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful? So one thing you need to remember here is, before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 year current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 year current affairs. And in this course, we are mainly focusing on current affairs. And one more thing here is mains answer writing practice. So many students who are especially freshers or beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. Even though if they are doing hard work, and even though if they clear prelims, they cannot clear mains without answer writing practice. So finally, you need to focus on this answer writing practice to clear your mains. So here exclusively we are focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday, and we provide you video explanation part. So in this way, this course which is designed as per demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing. Please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. So details of this course, it is given in description box. So please see that once. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call to this number 8074765513. Now let's come back and let us see next topic. Title says the benefits of breastfeeding. So why this breastfeeding is in news? Because August first week. Okay, so if you see the information which is given here. Okay, so August first week, which we are going to celebrate this breastfeeding week. Okay, so first week of August, it is a breastfeeding week. So from 1992 onwards, here World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, in collaboration or in coordination with UNICEF, introduced this breastfeeding week. Why? To create awareness about importance of breastfeeding. So if you're talking about importance of this breastfeeding, UNICEF states that breastfeeding, it is one among the most effective ways to protect maternal and as well as child health. So breastfeeding, it is very important for maintaining of maternal health and as well as child health. And finally, if you are going for breastfeeding, that will promote healthy growth and also optimal development in early childhood. And if you're talking about more advantages, so here whenever we are going for this breastfeeding, so this will be helpful for giving greater immunity for our children against infections, cancer, allergies and as well as obesity. It also improves brain maturation also. And it will be very much helpful for mother, because already in pregnancy she will gain extra pounds of weight, right? So it will be helpful for faster weight loss after birth. It also reduces postpartum bleeding. It also protects against breast cancer, ovarian cancer and also osteoporosis. And if you're talking about data, according to Lancet report, more investment in breastfeeding that could add $300 billion to global economy and prevent 8,20,000 child deaths every year. So because of this, we need to make more investments in breastfeeding, and here we can see returns. And next one is during Renaissance period, that is between 17th to 19th century. So breastfeeding which became unfashionable. So at that time there were aggressive advertisements regarding feeding bottles, formula milk, that is milk powder, etc. So because of this, that drastically reduced breastfeeding, that is between 17th to 19th centuries. So because of that, finally we saw impact. So what was the impact? So there is increase in infant mortality rate, there is rise in non-communicable disease among children that is seen. So in 1992, India enacted infant milk substitutes, feeding bottles and infant food acts, and we came with stringent provisions or regulations regarding selling of these bottles and as well as supplements. And in India, if we are talking about allocations for health, so we are allocating very low amount of GDP towards our health. So because of this, we are seeing there is large amount of communicable and as well as non-communicable diseases that is mainly hampering of our economic growth. So in this context, what can be done? What is need? So government must allocate special funds for raising awareness and as well as investments in this breastfeeding. And here government need to invest in educating parents and as well as health workers regarding what will be benefits of this breastfeeding. And we need to rigorously implement the law with stricter guidelines. And next one is we need to involve civil society organizations, media and local personalities mainly to spread awareness about this breastfeeding. So these are some steps that can be taken mainly to improve breastfeeding in India such that it will finally contribute to our economy. So this is gist of this topic. So these are some important articles, and apart from these articles, there is one article regarding Pegasus which appeared in page number 7. Already we discussed that article number of times. So if you want to go through, you can go through that. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll to this current affairs package. Thank you so much.